This episode of I Was a Teenage Film Snob is not brought to you by Zavi. Maybe one day, though. Those guys are fantastic. Welcome to the first episode of I Was a Teenage Film Snob. I'm James Chalmers, and yes, I was a teenage film snob. But this show's not really about that. I mean, it kind of is, but really what it is, it's a show about movie fans talking about movies. So what I'm going to do every single week is sit down with a guest, whether they're a massive film fan like myself, or maybe a bit of a casual viewer. We'll have a bit of a chat about what they're into, how they got into movies. We'll look at a topic, and that'll be it. So it's a bit of a fun experiment, and we'll see how we go. So this week's episode, our first episode, my guest is a previous co-host on a show called Pass the Remote, as well as a show on The Office called That's What She Said, and she's also my wife. So, of course, we had to have her first episode. Welcome to the show, Tina Chalmers.
Hello! Hello, everybody. Hey, all you ladies out there in Radio Land. This is Homer J.
So welcome to the show, Tina, the new show.
Yep.
Where I am not making demands of my wife and my friends anymore, where I'm not going to have regular co-hosts every week.
I didn't mind. It was fun.
It was, and then obviously COVID got in the way.
COVID and life and, you know...
Having a kid.
Having a kid really threw a spanner in the works.
Not a spanner, but just made it hard to do
A
this.
lovely, nice, beautiful spanner.
So I was just telling you before we got started that this is the new show. We're doing things a little bit differently, where we're going to do interviews each week. So I'm going to sit down with a different person. You're my first guest, and of course you're welcome to return any single time. I'm just trying to get comfortable. We're recording.
Why don't you just sit like a person?
No, normally the plan will be to record in front of my computer, but this one's a little bit different, so that's absolutely fine. Cool. So the way we kick it off, Tina, is, as I said, I was a teenage film snob. I'm very open up about that, but what I'd like to know is, are you? And I kind of know you pretty well, I would say, after being together for 15 years.
Yeah.
But funnily enough, when I was preparing for the show, I was thinking about kind of our relationship and our relationship with film. And I realised we never really talked about kind of how into movies you were before we met. Like, obviously, our lives have kind of revolved around and been dictated by film. Our first date was a movie.
Yeah.
Most of our dates have been at movies. Yeah. And you've kind of been kind of swallowed up by the film world, because I'm just like, movie.
Yeah.
But what was it like for you growing up? When did you kind of first get into movies? Are you a film fan at all?
Yeah, I am a film fan. I wouldn't say I'm as big a film fan as you, and I thought before I'd met you that I was pretty into film. It wasn't like I was obsessed with it or anything, but I really did enjoy going to the movies. I went to the movies as often as I could. Wasn't afraid to go to movies by myself, especially if it was Harry Potter. I'd just write a note to my dad, go, I'm going to go see Harry Potter. I'd walk to the cinemas, watch the movie, walk home.
Well, that's sorry to interrupt. That's an interesting point, because you said you weren't afraid to go to the movies on your own. When did you start going to movies by yourself?
I would say probably maybe 16 or 17.
Okay, so similar age to me.
Yeah.
Because I actually put a post on the show's Instagram the other day, where the first movie I went and saw by myself was Sin City, and I was so nervous to go to the movies by myself. I was like, I'm not used to going by myself, and now it's my favourite thing to do.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, maybe the first movie I saw by myself was Order of the Phoenix. What year did Order of the Phoenix come out?
No, we saw that together, Order of the Phoenix.
No, I know, we saw it together, but I saw it multiple times.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So then, so I would have
2008?
been, okay, so I would have been over 18 then.
Yeah. Probably.
I thought it was earlier than that. Maybe it wasn't Order of the Phoenix. Maybe it was another movie. But I definitely know that, I'd write a little note to my dad, say, see you later. If you don't know where I am, it's because I'm seeing Harry Potter, and I'd watch Harry Potter, because nobody wanted to see it 7 times, like me. So there's only so many people in my lives where I could be like, do you want to see Harry Potter again?
Well, you also had the convenience, and obviously we won't give out exactly where, but you grew up within walking distance.
Yeah, that's right,
as well,
exactly. It took about 20 minutes to walk.
Yeah.
To walk there in 20 minutes. So that wasn't too bad. But, I was thinking about it, and, I think my first movie I ever saw in cinemas was The Lion King.
Okay. That might have been my first film.
Well, that's the first movie I remember seeing. Because I must have, at some point, the big movie in my life that got me into movies was Pocahontas.
Yeah.
Like, that was, when the kid starts the obsession about something.
Mm-hmm.
That was what I'd start the obsession on. But I don't remember seeing it for the first time. I don't remember going to the movies. I just remember watching it on VHS a million times.
Well, that was going to be my next question. Were you a video store kid?
No,
Okay.
we weren't. See, this was the thing. So what we would do, we had a Blockbuster that was, again, only about 15 minutes walk from our house, so it wasn't very far. But for some reason, I don't know why, but we just never went there. Like, my brother had a Blockbuster video card later on, and I ended up borrowing it and then stealing it. And he didn't need it back, so I just kept it. But I remember growing up when we were kids, we were a film the movie off TV family.
Yeah.
And so our TV cabinet only had, I would say, 20 VHS tapes.
Yeah.
Most of them were TV because we watched a lot of TV. We didn't watch a lot of movies.
Mm-hmm.
So we had Winnie the Pooh cassette tapes, Rugrats cassette tapes. We had the Seinfeld finale taped off the TV. And then I remember one day, my dad came home from the Blockbuster. Like, he must have gone to the shops that the strip that Blockbuster was on. And so he went to the shops, and then he came back from the shops, and he's like, I went past Blockbuster, and they had like a sale of crappy not DVDs, because it wasn't DVDs then, it was VHS tapes that they're not going to have in rotation anymore. And he bought, like, he didn't know what it was, he just bought Brain Donors. And so me and Elizabeth were like, okay, we'll watch this. And we watched it, and we loved it, and it's now a family favourite. Like, we love Brain Donors. So it was really like my movie watching as a kid was really sporadic, but I definitely enjoyed it because I wanted to be an actor. I wanted to be in movies. So I remember Lion King was the first. I remember something happening in the cinema. Like, I must have cried, or maybe we left, or I fell asleep. I remember something happening and just being too young to sit for 2 hours or an hour and a half, to watch a movie. But yeah, Pocahontas was the big one. And then Mulan as well, to the point where I'd broken the VHS tape and my dad had to fix it. And then after that, there was a gap, and then I'm pretty sure it was like Austin Powers.
Yep.
Like, Austin Powers is really big. I remember sitting watching that for the first time and actually sort of being blown away by that opening credits of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I was just like, this is amazing. Like, the singing and the dancing, and like it was all like one shot, and it was just this wonderful 60s. And I think watching that, actually, I fell in love with the idea of the UK, and I fell in love with the idea of acting. I was like, because I would start quoting the movie, and I'd quote it all the time, and I just loved the accent and stuff. And my sister was obsessed with Austin Powers. Like, she was really into like flower power, hippie chicks, sort of thing like that. And it really came from that. And so I just like really jumped on that bandwagon as well. And so yeah, if I actually think about it, I think my first sort of, wow, like, this is... People do this in real life. People dress up in costume and they make movies, because before then you're watching animations, you're watching like cartoons and stuff. So I think that was sort of my first awakening.
It is interesting, like that point you made, because even I think about it when I was a kid, and like for most of my childhood until I probably hit like 10 or whatever, I didn't care about live action at all. Like, to me that was grown up stuff.
Yeah.
So I was all about cartoons, and granted, I'm still all about cartoons. But, like, I remember, you'd watch, ABC or whatever.
Yeah, you come home after primary school, you check on ABC Kids.
And then, like, 5:30, the news came on. Maybe it was 5 o'clock in those days. I can't remember, because ABC was a bit different. And you're like, oh, okay, well, it's grown-up time now. And then TV was over. And, like, I couldn't even feign interest in the programs that were on TV, because I didn't understand. Like, it's my favorite example is the 1960s Batman TV show, which wasn't on that late at night. But if you think about that show, it's a comedy. Like, that's what it is. It's a parody. It's kind of a satire of the comic books. You watch it as a kid, it's the most serious thing you've ever seen in your life. Like, it doesn't play as a comedy. Like,
they have to get away from this shark.
Yeah, exactly. Like, exactly.
Yeah.
It's Jaws to a kid. So I was exactly the same. I had no interest until... Well, there were some exceptions, but, like, for the most part, most of those live-action films that I watched as a kid, they kind of played as dramas. Like, even, like, Blues Brothers, which I talked about, is a comedy, but I kind of saw it as more this high-stakes adventure with music in it. Like,
Yeah.
Which is absurd when you look at it, like, as an adult, but as a kid, I was like, yeah, it's a grown-up movie. And it really is a grown-up movie. I just didn't realize how grown-up until much later. It's interesting. Yeah, I would have thought you guys were more of a video store family, but the taping, I absolutely agree with. Like, that was totally my childhood as well. And we didn't have many VHS tapes either. We were very... we had a couple of kids ones, you know, because you get one at a birthday party every now and then. But otherwise, it wasn't until... it wasn't even the advent of DVD, because DVD was like 97. So I guess 2001, maybe, when I got a PlayStation and it could play DVDs, that's when kind of I started collecting. And I still remember the first two I collected were The Matrix and Evolution. One film holds up very well. The other one, I haven't seen in quite a while.
I was obsessed with The Matrix. Like, once... I remember we... See, again, I don't remember how we got it on VHS, because we didn't go to the video store. So, like, somehow it just appeared in our house. We must have gone just, like, a random time. Because we did go, but it was very few and far between.
Yeah.
And I remember watching it and just, like, who is this man? Like, falling in love with Keanu Reeves. But just the concept was so cool and so, like... interesting. Like, you've never, like, come across a concept like that before, or at least as a kid I'd never come across that concept of what is real, the reality that we live in, and all this kind of stuff like that. And that coupled with my absolute crush on Keanu Reeves really helped solidify my love for The Matrix, like, to the point where in year 9 I printed off, like, the entire Matrix... What's the second one again?
Reloaded.
Was it Reloaded or was it the first one?
Because there's Matrix, Reloaded, Revolutions, and now Resurrections.
I can't remember if it was the first Matrix or if it was Reloaded, but I printed off the entire script and I glued it in my diary.
Oh, so
and every single page had photos of Keanu Reeves all over them.
I think you're gonna be like Pete in The Office, how he just learned Die Hard off by heart.
I pretty much did.
Yeah.
I pretty much did. I pretty much learnt The Matrix off by heart. But that's because I also have that personality of watching and mimicking and rehearse. That's why I'm a drama kid, do you know what I mean? I'm all about rehearsal, get the mimicry so that I can perform the line how the actor performs the line, or do the accent how the actor does the accent. But I've been like that ever since forever, like even before movies.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do like remember sitting and watching movies when they were on TV with my family. I remember one time we were watching Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
I know this story.
Yeah,
it's a good story.
And we were all sitting in the living room, and I was standing in the kitchen. I was getting a snack or something like that, and it was my first time watching it, and again I loved it. But at that point, I didn't know Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't seen The Matrix,
and that's
I was
not
a
the
bit
Keanu
younger.
Reeves you fall in love with.
No, that's right. You fall in love with the Matrix, Neo Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, it's Neo.
He's all, like, clean cut and everything.
It's Neo, it's Point Break.
Yeah,
it's, I'm trying to think of another one. It's like, it's late 90s, kind of early 2000s Keanu is the one that everyone falls in love with.
But I remember I must have been Speed. Oh, yeah, Speed. Yeah, I ended up buying that one on VHS as well. And watching that in my room many times. I remember I must have been like 8 or 9, and Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure was playing on TV. And it was the point where, like, they're having the sword fight down around the turret of the tower, and he falls Ted falls down, and then like the guy like stabs him. He goes, "You stabbed Ted, you medieval dickweed!" And I'd never heard that word before, so I just went, "Ha ha, dickweed!" And my mum said, "Don't you ever say that again, Tina!" Like she really cut into, because I didn't realize I was saying like a swear.
Yeah.
I was just like, dickweed. That's a funny word.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, nice one. Cool. Well, we might go on to the topic of the week. So what we decided to do with the first episode, to keep it nice and easy, because the thing is, anyone who's listened to our old podcast, and they may have, we've talked about our favourite movies to death. Like, we've done it. And I was talking to Nick Owen the other night, and we were going over our favourite list. We kind of came up to this revelation that if you are a film fan like I am, and like he is, and maybe you to an extent, if you are a film fan, your top 5 never really stays the same. Like, you do kind of have a top 5, but things kind of move around. They shuffle up and down. But even still, we've done that kind of list to death. Yeah. So what we decided for this first episode, even though it is almost the end of February, we'd reflect on 2021. Because even though 2021 was another lockdown year, there were a lot more movies last year than there were in 2020. 2020 was a tough year for movies. Last year, we actually got to go out to the cinema a few times, which was great. There's a lot on streaming because last year the studios prepared. They were like, look, we're going to release all of our titles on streaming so that people can see movies again. And I'll be honest, it was tough for me to narrow down a top 5 for last year because I liked so much of what I saw. It was really tough. So what we're going to do is go through our top 5 one by one, have a bit of a chat about them. We are going to spoil things. That's the nature of the show. We're going to talk about the plot points as well. So if you haven't seen the movies, you might want to pause until you've seen them. But yeah, well, I might let you start if you want with your number 5 from 2021.
Okay, so I haven't ordered them.
That's okay.
In 5 to 1, as in 5 being the 5th.
Yeah, the least favourite.
The least favourite, and 1 being the most favourite. I haven't ordered them. Oh no, hang on. Wait, hang on a second. Did I just delete the entire list? No, I didn't. Okay. Okay, good. But I found it hard to narrow down to 5 because I actually found most of the movies I watched last year pretty mediocre.
Okay.
So all of them kind of like, I have a lot of honourable mentions, but they're not to be made into the list because it's kind of like, yeah, I liked them. Well, I don't think I really loved any movies last year except for maybe like 2.
Well, what I will say is, with my list, because what I try to do is watch a lot of films each year, as you know. It wasn't a great year for kind of indie film. It wasn't a great year for kind of like smaller, kind of more introspective films. My list is all blockbusters, which is rare. Yeah. Like, normally my list isn't all blockbusters. Normally there's a pretty healthy mix. But for the most part, it's big tentpole films. And that's just because that's all that came out last year for the most part.
Yeah.
The good thing was, at least from my perspective, most of those blockbusters were really good. Like, they were really high entertainment value. They're really fun. They're really engaging. A couple of tearjerkers in there. So I was really happy with what did come out.
Oh, I just realised there's a movie. I just saw something on your list. It's like, I loved that movie. So I'm going to add that to my list. Cool. All right. Well, then I liked that. That's good.
Great. Cool. Well, I'll let you start. Number 5.
Okay. So my
no order for you, really.
Yeah, no order really. So my number 5 is Moxie.
Oh yeah, the Netflix film.
Yeah. So I'm a feminist, so I'm going to back up feminist movies and everything, and I just really loved it. I really thought it was, it didn't sugarcoat things. I thought it was very accurate. You know, I'm a high school teacher, so I see the everyday misogyny that a lot of teenage girls experience in schools and stuff like that. And so I thought it was great. I thought the soundtrack was awesome. Really, really cool. Some nice punk girl rock music and
some Bikini Kill I think was in there.
So no, that's my number. I thought the acting was really great as well. I really liked the lead actress. I don't know her name.
Well, Amy Poehler was in it.
Yeah.
And it did kind of feel like a bit of a spiritual sequel to Mean Girls in a way, I thought.
Yeah. Oh. You know, it's kind of like the next vein, not so comedy based.
No, but
sort
there
of
was some
thing.
comedy in there.
There was some comedy in there, but Mean Girls is supposed to be like a lot more comedy sort of
course.
thing. But yeah, no. So that's my number 5.
And one thing I liked about the film as well is because it is very serious, like it is a very important message, giving young women and all women that freedom to express themselves and to feel safe, those sorts of things. But one thing I did like that you wouldn't necessarily expect from a feminist film, and that's just more, I guess, the stereotypical viewpoint of a feminist. There's, unfortunately, it's 2022 and there still is a bit of a viewpoint about how feminism is. Like some people do. What I did like is that as a feminist film, it did show both sides where the young, the lead, and I've also forgotten her name, she's way into it, she is feminist, but she also does kind of go a little bit far in as much as she starts pushing where the people who are supporting her and kind of then showed how it can be a difficult line to walk as a feminist and the importance of, you need to have your message, but you also need to make sure, you're not biting, I guess the heads off the people who are there by your side, which which I imagine for any young woman or any woman at all it can be a tough line to walk.
Yeah, it was really good because it was really talking about like intersectional feminism and the whole idea of like, femininity can also be feminism. Trans rights are almost also feminist rights, and I think it did that really, really well. I think it also like spoke about the whole concept of like how your identity forms and changes as you accept or reject and then re-accept and then re-reject and then finally accept. It's a journey when you become a feminist. It's a journey like, at first you're kind of like, I'm up for women's rights, but I wouldn't call myself a feminist. And like, what does that label mean? What does it mean to take that label on, and how people see you when you take that label on? And I think these days it's not a big issue, but I remember when I was growing up, like, if you labeled yourself as a feminist, people saw it as, man-hating. That's what it meant, whereas these days that's not what that label means anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And I even think, to an extent, you know what? This is a touchy topic. I'm gonna keep it there. No, I was gonna say something, and you know what? As someone who's not a woman, it's not my place to say. But
But you're allowed to voice the idea.
I would say that I have met some feminists who also believe that feminism is about man hating. That's what I'll say.
Isn't?
No, is. So,
yes. No, see, that's the thing. So there's different, like, that's the... What's great about this movie is that what I mean by intersectional feminism. So intersectional feminism is the concept of like anyone and everyone can be feminists, and we all should be feminists. And when it comes to the issues that arise with feminists, it's got to do with everybody. Whereas there's a lot of other branches of feminism where it is like, no, it's misandry, it's against men, that sort of thing. And then there's other branches of feminisms that are like anti-trans, and then there's other branches of feminisms that... So there's a whole different branches of it and stuff like that. And it's true, there's feminists who exist out there of all of those types, but intersectional feminism is the kind of feminist you want to be, basically.
I did find, just because you mentioned, I did find that storyline in particular on the trans girls to be maybe the most interesting storyline.
Yeah.
It's something that I know I hadn't thought of, and I imagine a lot of people haven't thought of, that, not only are you, as a trans person, are you dealing with an a shift in identity and like, who am I as a person, beyond the gender I was born in, but now if I am transitioning from man to woman, well, now I also have to deal with being a woman in a man's world that that I came from, but I was never really a part of.
Yeah.
And now I'm truly not part of it. It was really fascinating. And that actress, she's fantastic. She was really good, and she's a real trans woman as well. I mean, she's a trans woman outside of the movie also.
Yeah.
Okay. The actress's name who played the lead was Hadley Robinson. I just want to get that out of it because it's such an important film, and then I was like, we should probably give it credit.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it was a great film. My number 5 is nowhere near as important as Moxie, but it was important to me in its own way, and that was Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
And the reason being is that no film based on a video game should have, not just a video game, but based on Mortal Kombat, had any right to be as good as it was. It was the first movie I saw in theatres last year, so I was just happy to be out of the house and seeing a movie the normal way again. but also like the last kind of cinematic version of a Mortal Kombat film was the 90s ones. There are two, and the first one is campy but still passable, and the second one is really, really tough. But neither of them really captured the spirit of the games, whereas this was like, we're going super violent, we're going to go gory, like we're going to really embrace what these characters are, you know, like, which is ridiculous kung fu movie with supernatural abilities.
Yeah.
And it's the kind of movie that I actually like. Think you might like. I wouldn't go so far as to be like, oh, you'll love it. It would be your favorite. But in the way that I'm kind of got you into Iron Man, I think I could be like, I think you might enjoy Mortal Kombat on like a silly blockbuster level.
Yeah.
It was great. They didn't hold back on anything. It really did feel like, you know, a step up from the video games, or like a good translation from the video games. And it does feel like, you know, we're probably going to get more, and they're probably going to be pretty good as well. And I'd even hazard to say that it might be one of the better, even one of the best video game adaptations, because video game movies notoriously are not very good, but this was just a whole lot of fun. And as I said, it was far better than it had any right to be. Like, you don't need a movie of that caliber to be good, but it was really fun. So Mortal Kombat was my number 5. Shockingly,
Nice.
It made my top 5 list.
Cool. Alright, so my next one was Home Sweet Home Alone.
Home Sweet Home Alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, go and tell me all about Home Sweet Home Alone.
I just really liked it because we watched a whole bunch of Christmas movies for Christmas. And I just thought it was really sweet. So I'm a fan of the Home Alone movies. I wouldn't say that they're my favourite Christmas movies, but I do enjoy them. But I think that one actually is probably one of the ones that I've enjoyed the most out of a Christmas movie in a long time. Like, probably since Noel.
Noel's great.
Yeah, Noel's really great.
Like Noel.
It's a really good Christmas movie. But this one was just really, like, fantastic because it was, the boy was really funny. I really like Ashley B. I really liked how the story wasn't that they were trying to, you know, burgle his house or anything like that. And the bit at the end where the Ellie Kemper's like, oh, like she realizes that, you know, your mum's not here and you're here all alone and okay, we'll look after you. I just thought that was really sweet. So I really liked it. My only complaint about it is that I wish there was the montage of traps and stuff like that, and the slapstick stuff could have gone on a little bit longer. I would have liked that.
Yeah, look, it had a great cast. You had I can't remember the boy's name, but it was the little boy from Jojo Rabbit, not the main boy, his friend, the one who looks like Nick Frost.
Yeah, like a little child version of Nick Frost.
You had Aisling Bees mentioned, Ellie Kemper, and Rob Delaney. Like, really great cast. And even you had Buzz from the original Home Alone.
Yeah, that's right.
My only problem with this film, and I'm not being like, this doesn't deserve to be on the list. Like, I enjoyed it as well.
Archie Yates, his name is.
Archie Yates, that's right. Yeah. He looks like an Archie. My only problem with the film was, as you pointed out, like, once they kind of realised that he's home alone, they look after him, which I did like, is that because they're not burglars, I feel like all the pain and punishment they go through is unfair.
Yeah, that's true.
And so the whole time I was kind of like, because basically the plot is that, like, they're trying to sell their house because the dad, like, is, I can't remember, he's waiting on a bonus, but they can't afford to live in the house anymore unless they do something drastic. And through, like, a mix-up or through kind of, like, a misinterpreted argument, the little boy steals something very valuable from the house. And they're trying to get it back. So they're trying to break into the house to get it back so they can keep their house. They're not burglars. They're just trying to, like,
their thing
support
back.
their family.
Yeah.
And then they're going through all this, like, violence and stuff, which is, which is really funny, like, when they deserve it. I was just like, oh, this is... Like, isn't their life tough enough at the moment?
Yeah.
Like, and maybe I'm taking it too seriously. Like, maybe I'm like, hey, it's a silly Christmas movie, like, have a bit of fun. But, like, the good thing about Harry and Marv in the original ones, those first two in particular, is, like, they're bad people. Especially Harry. Marv, you know, he's kind of like, he just kind of goes along. He's like the sidekick. But, like, Harry is a bad guy. Like, that's just Joe Pesci. You put him in any other movie, he's the same guy.
Yeah.
Like, and even in the third one, like, they're spies, you know, like, they're people who deserve punishment. Whereas in this one, I was like, oh, like, as a parent myself, I was like, oh, like, if I was in a situation, like, what, I'm going to get hit in the head with a bowling ball and it blows up because I'm trying to, like, keep my kid under a roof? Like, But that being said, that sticking point aside, I did find it quite enjoyable.
Yeah.
So that's your number 4. Excellent. My number 4 was Last Night in Soho.
Yeah.
So I'm a huge Edgar Wright.
So that's my number 3. So we might as well talk about it together.
Cool. So I'm a huge Edgar Wright fan, and I would say you're fairly big fan of Edgar Wright as well.
Yeah.
Hot Fuzz being one of my all-time favorite movies ever. Like, we watch it every single year because it's a perfect film.
Yeah.
World's End, I like Shaun of the Dead, but Shaun of the Dead isn't as high on my list as a lot of other people, which I know is blasphemy. But it's just not as high. I love Baby Driver. I love Scott Pilgrim. Like, I think everything he does is great. So when I found out he was doing a horror film, and not a comedy horror, but like an actual, I'm going to do like a creepy, like, mystery horror, like, time travel-y, psychedelics, like, everything he was saying, like, he was talking about this film was like, this is exactly what I want to see.
Yeah.
And it's brilliant.
Yeah.
The car, you know, it's got Anya Taylor-Joy, who's, you know, only been on the scene for about kind of 6 or 7 years and has just blown up and become this megastar. She's fantastic. Thomasin McKenzie, who plays the lead, is really good. You got Matt Smith, who is really good at playing villains. Like, everyone kind of associates him with a doctor, but he's much better as a villain. Like, it's visually, like, stunning.
Yeah, visually it's fantastic.
And I've seen some people, like, criticize the CGI for the ghosts, but I actually really liked that. Like, to me, I wasn't like it's bad CGI. It was almost kind of like a blurred photograph.
Yeah.
And, like, crossed with a corpse, which I was like, I like that. Like, it is really cool. The use of colour, obviously the blues and the reds is really good. The music is perfect. Like,
the music's fantastic.
Like, he couldn't have made this film without making Baby Driver, which sounds weird, because she's like, well, Baby Driver's like an action movie with cars. It's like, yes. But he's always been a great editor. Like, from Shaun of the Dead, you've seen he does those smash cuts. Like, it's sort of like... And he does it on the most mundane things. And then in Baby Driver, he took that transition from visual editing to audio editing. You can see this is where the film snob part comes in, because I'm getting all, like, technical. And then in this, it was very musically driven. But on top of that, the story was great. The twist, you know, I think you kind of called, like, who the villain was. But not till pretty much the end. I think, like, same with me, like, I kind of picked up on it, but it took a while to get there. And the film for me gave off vibes of Suspiria, which is this Italian film by Dario Argento from the 70s. It felt very similar to that, at least in its setup, even though it's completely different. I loved it. I loved everything about it. It was a very, very enjoyable film for me. The only thing, and I'll let you talk about the movie in a moment as well, is when we watched it, it was a night where Zoe just wasn't, like, sleeping properly. And at one point, we got this vision of ghosts in her head, and she's just staring at us through the monitor.
Oh my god, that was terrifying. And we're, like, in her room, in the dark, and she's just staring at us from the cot. And I'm just like, there's ghosts behind me. There's just ghosts behind me. So I have to keep staring at this silhouette of my monster baby in the dark. Because if I turn around, there'll be ghosts behind me.
Which I guess shows how effective it is. But I loved it, so I've been talking quite a bit on it, so I'll let you have a bit of it.
Yeah, no, I loved it as well, but I'm not a huge horror fan. When we were first going out, I gradually became more and more into horror movies, and then I just went, I can't do this. I stopped enjoying them. And it was just like, I just don't like the feeling of being scared.
Well, I think, like, and, you know,
I don't like the feeling of not being able to go into my toilet at night because I'm scared that if I look in the mirror, there's going to be something behind me.
I think, like, maybe, I don't know if it was a misunderstanding or whether, like, you said something, because I was under the impression that you did like horror.
I did.
But I think you liked
gore.
Horror style.
Yes.
You're like, I like look of monsters. I like that kind of... the aesthetic of that. I like 1950s horror.
Exactly. Or I'm happy to watch slasher movies where there's a psycho killer. Like, I love, like, Jason movies, I can watch those. That's fine. Or like Scream. We watched Scream last year. Yeah, I can watch that. That's fine. I find that funny to get annoyed at how stupid the characters are in the movies.
You did have a good run with horror last year, because over Halloween I was like, I'd love for us to sit down and watch some horror together. I said, I know... you know, we went and saw a Saw film once. It was the most violent Saw film of all of them. I was like, I know we're not going to do any gore, but I'd love to watch just some, like, kind of fun ones. So we watched Scream 4, which you seem to enjoy somewhat.
Yeah.
Final Girls, which is an amazing movie.
I liked Final Girls.
And Freaky, I think, was the other one.
Yeah, I liked that as well. but I just don't like supernatural horror movies. Like, I don't like ghosts, I don't like poltergeists, I don't like something I can't fight. If there's a psycho killer who's coming in to kill me, well, guess what? That person can be shot dead, or can be stabbed, or can be hurt, and like, I have the chance of escaping them. But like, I don't have a chance of escaping a ghost if it's haunting me. I don't have the chance of escaping a demon if it's possessing someone.
I think the rule of 3 was originally no ghosts, no children, no mirrors.
Yes,
like,
that's right.
Pretty much
yeah, pretty much. And so when you sold Last Night Soho to me, you sold it as like a thriller. You were like, oh yeah, it's just, like, it's not supposed to be that scary. It was a lot more scary than what you suggested.
It was scarier than what I thought it was going to be as well, to be fair. Like, the way it was advertised is there were a couple like little jumps in the trailer, but it's like, this feels more like a thriller. He was selling it as a thriller himself. He's like, it's kind of like a time travel-y, kind of thriller mystery, murder mystery.
But it's also like the layers of like rape on top of that, and like sex work on top of that makes it a harder pill to swallow for me. But I still really enjoyed it because, like, oh my god, like, it was a really well told story. The cinematography was beautiful, just the costumes and the set and like the music and everything. So it was a really well done movie. It was just a little bit more scary than I would have liked.
Well, I mean, we were talking about feminism before, like with Moxie, and whilst I wouldn't necessarily say it's exclusively a feminist film, it's definitely a movie about strong female characters.
Yeah.
Like, and like with the Thomasin McKenzie character, the lead role, where she kind of has moved from, kind of the British countryside to the city. She has to learn to fend for herself, and she has to, she's even getting ridiculed by the other women that she's studying with and stuff, because she's considered a bit of a hick or a little bit out of touch, because she's going to fashion school and she already hand makes all of her clothes and stuff. And even the Anya Taylor-Joy character, who's obviously was born, she was living through the 60s. She's the main, kind of the vessel we see the story through when we did the flashbacks. And she wanted to be a performer, and obviously, in that time, if you wanted to be a performer, you had to do things like with sleazy managers and stuff, but even through all that, you can see how strong she is, and like then her way of kind of taking back her power is by, brutally murdering these horrible men, which I don't think anyone really disagrees with. It's like, she's doing, she's just giving them what they deserve, basically. I should have been able to expect something like this from Edgar Wright, because he never misses the mark. But I was really blown away by this film. I was surprised. He continues to surprise me, which is great in a filmmaker that you like. I was like, oh, you can still surprise me and do things that I'm not expecting, which he definitely delivered with this film.
Yeah.
So that was also your number 3. So I guess we'll jump into my number 3. And this is when we get into very much all the blockbuster films. Zack Snyder's Justice League is number 3. It was the first time we had people over again after lockdown. We kind of had a little bit of a movie night, because it's like, it's going to be streaming on Binge, and it's a 4-hour movie, so we have to set aside it. Now, I never hated the 2017 Justice League film. Just to give some background in case some people don't know what this movie is. Most people should, but they might not. It felt like a bit short. Like, it was a 2-hour kind of superhero team movie, which kind of felt a bit abrupt. Like, Batman vs Superman is 3 hours long.
Yeah.
But like Justice League, we're going to add, 4 more heroes to this. And we're
going to make it shorter.
An hour shorter. So it felt a bit short, but I never really had any problems. Now, obviously, since then, a lot's come out about what went on behind the scenes with Joss Whedon and stuff. We're not here to talk about that. Like, we're here to just talk about, the movies themselves. But it sounds like it was a pretty kind of toxic set and stuff like that. And it kind of shows in the work. When you revisit, you're like, oh, yeah, there's a lot of stuff missing from this movie. It just kind of feels like it's kind of an incomplete film. So when they announced, all these rumours for years, the Snyder Cut, oh, you have to see the Snyder Cut, it's the true vision, and then it finally got released. 4-hour film, I've seen it twice. I watched it twice in a row, so we watched it when it released the first night, and then I watched it in installments the week after to see what it worked better as, because some people were like, it works better as a miniseries than a movie. I prefer it as a movie. As a miniseries, it didn't quite work for me. It's better to watch in one sitting. It's just basically an extended version of that film, but there's so much more in it. You get so much more performance out of all of the actors. There's a lot more character work done, particularly with the Flash and with Cyborg, and even with Aquaman to a certain degree. The visual effects are so much better. I remember I remember I had this outrageous burst at one point. We're sitting there watching when Steppenwolf attacks Themyscira, and I was like, why the hell did they cut this out of the film?
Yeah.
Because when you see it in the theatrical cut, like, it's maybe 5 minutes and it just kind of feels very rushed. But when you watch the extended cut, it goes for like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
You see so much more going on. It's a lot more violent, which I'm not saying like it needs to be violent, but you can see there's some menace to this villain. Like, Steppenwolf actually has some claws. He has some teeth, as opposed to just kind of being like, you know, a CGI bad guy who's stealing things throughout the movie. He doesn't steal the mother box from the parking lot like he did in the original cut. On top of that, we get Darkseid, which is one of the greatest villains of all time. I really love him in the comics. So to see him on screen, even though it's very short, I really did that. The Nightmare stuff, I am kind of hit and miss with. That's the end where the Joker's there.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people, like, they were kind of selling the movie on this a little bit, and it was kind of meant to set up whatever comes next. It feels like it's misplaced. Like, it feels like a post-credit sequence, but they didn't want to put the end of the credits, so they just whacked it on the end. It just kind of feels out of place. Still very cool to see. We're probably not going to see any of that stuff now because Ben Affleck's not doing Batman anymore, so I'm glad it's in there, but it's probably the weakest part of the film for me. But all in all, I really enjoyed it. I think it is the superior cut, and I really like... I was so happy that I enjoyed it.
That's good.
Because the last time I saw a Zack Snyder film in theaters before Justice League was Batman vs Superman, which I really like now. But the first time I saw it in theaters, I hated it.
Yeah, I hated it the first time I saw it. I've only seen it that one time.
You've only seen the theatrical cut as well. The extended cut is much better, but I hated it. I was just like, what is this? And I was really worried that I was going to feel the same way about Justice League, but not the case. It's the only problem with Justice League is if I want to watch it, I have to block out like half a day. Because it's so long.
That's right, because it's so long.
But it's visually stunning. The action scenes are superb. It doesn't feel like it's all shot on a stage, which was my biggest concern with the theatrical cut, where I'm just like, this is the Justice League. How come it feels like there's only 4 people in the room?
Yeah.
Like, how come, like, you know, Metropolis feels like it's, you know, about 3 meters by 3 meters. It's tiny. So the scope of the extended cut is great as well. But yeah, really enjoyed it.
Nice. Alright, so my number 2 is Shang-Chi.
Oh, I loved Shang-Chi.
Yeah, so I wasn't like not looking forward to watching this movie, but I knew nothing about it going in. I was just like, what? This seems like boring. But that was just like the concept, like, you know, when Marvel releases like the titles of the movies and stuff like that they're gonna release. I'm like, what the hell is Shang-Chi? I've never heard of that before. And then I think we watched the trailer. We watched the trailer?
We would have watched it.
We would have watched it.
I was the same as you. Like, I knew a little about Shang-Chi, but not much. And I was kind of like, well, I'll see it.
I knew less than you.
Yeah. I was like, I'll see it because it's Marvel, but it wasn't on my to-watch list. It was it was more like, well, I try to see every Marvel film in theaters, so I'll see it.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of how I felt.
And I loved it. Like, I think it's one of my favourite Marvel movies. Like, it's just funny. It's, like, the action is fantastic. The heartwarming moments with the mother and stuff like that are wonderful. It's just really, really well told. Like, the story is just really well told, as opposed to the Eternals, which was shit. But we're not talking about that. But yeah, I loved it. I think about that bus fight scene all the time.
It's great.
Like, I think about that probably at least once a week.
Yeah.
And just go, remember that scene? That was really good. Who's the main actor again?
Simu Liu.
Yeah, he's brilliant. He's really, really good. Like, we watched the SNL episode that he was in, and he's just, like, he's really good with his comedy and comedic timing, and, so, yeah, no, I really enjoyed it, and I was surprised because, like, it was a lovely surprise because I knew nothing about the character, I knew nothing about the story, so, yeah, no, I thought it was great. I thought it was really, really good.
I agree. It's not on my top 5. It's in my honourable mentions, but I was pleasantly surprised by the film. I agree with you. The fight choreography was great.
Yeah.
That bus scene in particular really stands out. I'm a huge fan of Awkwafina.
Yeah, she's brilliant.
I never saw anything, I think, before Ocean's 8, and every time I see her pop up in something, like, it... If I see her now, I'm just like, well, this film's probably going to be good.
Yeah.
Like, when she was in that Jumanji sequel...
She was being Danny DeVito.
Perfect.
She was brilliant, yeah.
So good. I also really liked they did a male-female relationship that wasn't romantic.
Yeah.
In fact, they go out of their way like to be like, no, like we're like brother and sister. Like, I really liked that. I liked all the little Easter eggs. You know, you see Abomination show up, you know, briefly fighting Wong.
Yeah.
In like the underground fight scenes. Like the end is a bit of a CGI, not mess, but it is a bit CGI heavy. Like there's a dragon and like there's all sorts of stuff going on. But you know, I like the return of Trevor from Iron Man 3, and he's got a friend that's got no face, the weird little turkey thing.
Turkey bird
Pig
bird thing.
And what I loved about it, because I think I said to you, I go, this is my favourite standalone movie since Spider-Man Homecoming. Like any first non-team film where I'm like I liked it better than Black Panther. I liked it better than Spider-Man Far From Home. I liked it better than so many, like Thor Ragnarok. I liked it better than all of these movies. And I think what it was is they really sold the family story for me.
Yeah.
Like, you know, they played around with timing a bit, but you see, like, when his mother gets murdered, like, that scene is so heartbreaking. And then you see, like, kind of his dad has the chance to be like, well, I'm going to still be the man that she turned me into. And instead he's like, I can't. I'm going to be everything that she hated to get revenge. And then, like, it kind of puts Shang-Chi in this position where he has to decide what kind of man he wants to be. It's really good. And, like, my favourite stuff about it isn't even the fights. The fights are amazing, but it's that central family story.
Yeah, that's right.
Which has been kind of absent from most of the Marvel films. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
With the exception of the Ant-Man films. I think the Ant-Man films do very well with that family story as well. But, you know, like, most of the Marvel films are kind of like... You know, and I love the Marvel films. But it was a nice little change, or something that we hadn't seen before. We got to play with that kind of family dynamic and that emotion there. So, I agree with you. Shang-Chi was amazing.
What's your number 2?
My number 2... Look, my number 1 and 2 are almost interchangeable at this point. I actually thought my number 2 was going to almost hit my number 1 spot, but it isn't number 2. And that's the Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
The James Gunn not remake, but kind of follow-up.
That's one of my honourable mentions.
I always knew I was going to like it because I like those characters. I like James Gunn as a filmmaker. He hasn't made a film that I haven't liked. And I knew they were letting James Gunn make the film he wanted to make, which is, look, it's not going to be kind of this PG kind of Guardians of the Galaxy stuff. That's not a criticism. I love Guardians of the Galaxy, but this is a team that... You know, they're murderers. You know, they're villains. Like, we're doing a villain-only film. Like, let's see them be villains. So,
yeah, that's right.
And through James Gunn's filter, you can see all the violence and all the cursing. And you get to see Harley kind of go off the chain a little bit. You get to see Peacemaker, who's a fantastic character, has his own show now as well, which is brilliant. You get to see King Shark, who I never thought I'd see in a live-action film.
Yeah.
And might be my favourite version of King Shark.
Yeah.
I really like him in the Harley Quinn cartoon as well, but Sylvester Stallone somehow is a great version. Like, he is to King Shark what Vin Diesel is to Groot.
Yeah,
like, it's just that performance. I never thought I'd see Starro the Conqueror in a movie. Like, the calibre of actors in this film, like, to anyone who hasn't seen it, who's been living under a rock, like, you've got Margot Robbie, you've got Idris Elba, you've got Peter Capaldi. Yeah. Is in this movie.
These are, like, BAFTA award-winning actors.
Like, huge. I mean, obviously, we knew Margot was coming back. She'd been Harley for a while. But Idris Elba, like, I guess he did a Fast and the Furious film as well, but, like, he's a high-caliber actor.
Yeah.
Peter Capaldi is, like, you know, up there with, what's the guy who plays Tywin Lannister?
Yes, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I've forgotten his name.
I can't.
But he's, like, you know, very upper class, like, very respected British, well, actually Scottish, I think, actor.
Charles Dance.
That's
right.
He's along in that kind of same caliber, and it's beautiful. Like, it's as I said, like, it's visually gorgeous. The jokes are all on point. It's very, very funny. It's very poignant. There's some really beautiful moments in there, especially with the Ratcatcher character. Like, and she's obviously kind of the innocent in all there, and she's the one who kind of ties that kind of gooey center there. But it's so much fun. And one thing I'd forgotten about, I rewatched it a couple of weeks ago in preparation to watch Peacemaker. I'd forgotten about all the little little title cards they did, where they just, like, found, like, things in the world of the movie and use them to make chapter cards. So like there was like the wind blows leaves across the beach, and the leaves make the title, or like an explosion, like the smoke spell, like just cool little things that they don't need to do. I was just thinking, one of my favorite lines is when they're in Jotunheim at the end and they're playing the plastic explosives, and King Shark makes a model out of the plastic explosives of Peacemaker, and it's this really cute thing. And it's like, Peacemaker.
Yeah.
And Peacemaker's like, well, that's sweet, but doesn't look anything like me.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, John Cena has been one of the most delightful surprises for me in film over the last couple of years. Just like The Rock. Like, I remember there was a time when The Rock and John Cena both started doing movies. I'm like, oh, they're just wrestlers are just making movies now.
Yeah.
And they were making these direct-to-video movies and stuff. I never thought much of them. And I guess what they were doing was practicing. It was like, I'm going to make... I'm in wrestling, which is kind of like a soap opera anyway.
Yeah.
And I'm doing all these direct-to-video movies, and one day I'm going to get a chance. And when I get that chance, I'm going to show you what I can do. And it's true, because everything I see The Rock in, even if the movie's not good, I like him in. And same with John Cena. Like, the first thing I saw him in was Sisters with Amy Poehler and Tina Fey. And he doesn't have much of a part in it, but he was, he was entertaining for what he was. And then he showed up in Blockers. And Blockers, to me, is one of the few great modern, like, teen sex comedies. It's basically American Pie, but they flipped the gender. Instead of, the boys making a pact, it's the girls making a pact. And he plays this straight-laced dad, and his comedic timing is so good in it. And then you give him a chance to really chew the scenery as Peacemaker and Suicide Squad, and, of course, the Peacemaker show as well. And you can see the hard work he's put in. Like, he's been honing his skill for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And now... I'll watch him in anything. And he's probably the standout performance for me in that movie, even though he gets probably the least to do. He's the one I expected the least from as well, and he really delivers everything he does. One of my favourite sequences in that movie is when they're storming the rebel camp. They're like, Rick Flag's been captured, we have to go save our friend so we can move on. And then it turns out, like, it wasn't a rebel camp. They're actually there and they've killed all their allies by mistake. Yeah. And it's so funny. Like, I mean, I knew it was coming, and even in the rewatch, I was like, this is still a great scene. So number 2, Suicide Squad, absolutely.
I also just wanted to mention, Idris Elba has an OBE.
Oh, Order of the British Empire. Yeah.
And he's in Suicide Squad. Alright, so my number 1, I think, is the same as your number 1.
I'm thinking it probably will be.
Yeah, and that is Spider-Man No Way Home.
Absolutely.
Yes. Man, it's a good movie. Like, it's a good movie. The end. We all knew that it was going to have the other 2 Spider-Men in it.
Yeah, well, we said spoilers at the start, but if you haven't seen Spider-Man by now, like, you're not going to see it. Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, the worst kept secret in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Well, with the exception of Andrew Garfield, like, I know that, like, everyone was expecting him, but he was really going out of his way to say he wasn't in the film, like, and not in a way where you're like, well, obviously he's in it. Like, he was kind of, like, talking down about the studio. He's like, working on those previous Spider-Man films is such a bad experience for me. I wouldn't want to come back, like, they really ruined that trilogy. They, like, he's saying all these things, and I was to the point where I was like, there's no way he would come out and say these things, because they'd never want to work with him again. But I guess they were like, look, do what you can. Yeah. To squash these rumors. Anyway, sorry, I interrupted.
That was just brilliant. That was fantastic. So many awesome things happen in this movie. Like, just, I love the whole, like, relationship between Peter and Doctor Strange. It was very reminiscent of Peter and Iron Man as well, sort of thing, I felt. And, like, again, spoilers, but, like, the death of Aunt May, oh my god, that was really hard.
I think, before we went into the movie, I was talking to someone the day before, because I was like, I'm finally seeing Spider-Man tomorrow. And I said, here's my prediction, I'll cry 10 times. And, because I'm a notorious film crier. And from when she first says, with great power must also come great responsibility, through till the scene where they're all trying to, like, come up with the cures in the lab, I cried about 10 times. Yeah. Like, because, like, it's so heartbreaking and sad, but also so, like, visually awesome. Like, it reminded me of the first time I saw Endgame, when the portals open and everyone comes back. Yeah. And I was talking about this with Nick the other night, where I'm like, there's a scene in Avengers Endgame where Valkyrie is riding a Pegasus, she's holding a spear, cuts open a giant space worm, and Spider-Man's swinging on behind.
Think about that sentence. That was in a movie, and that was only in about 3 seconds of a 45-minute sequence. And I was just like, I can't believe I'm seeing this. And so I'm crying because it's so awesome.
Yeah.
And that's what, like, that middle section of Spider-Man for me was like. Where it's like, I can't believe Tobey Maguire's back. I was in theatres. Like, when Tobey Maguire was Spider-Man for each one of those movies.
Yeah, our first date and Tobey Maguire was Spider-Man.
Yeah, it was Spider-Man 3. And then those 2 Amazing Spider-Man films I also saw in theatre. So I've seen every Spider-Man film in theatres. So to see all 3 of them on screen at once, I was like, I can't believe... I know we were expecting it, but like still to see it actually happen, it's like, oh my god, like.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, that's okay. It's a discussion. It's not an interruption. Because I can't remember 5 minutes ago. I actually have big moments of not being able to remember a lot of the movies that I saw. So there's big chunks of the movie that I don't remember. But it was just fantastic. Like, it was just really, really good.
Well, it follows on exactly... It picks up exactly where the previous one left off, which is Spider-Man's identity has been revealed, and obviously he goes to Doctor Strange ultimately, not because he's so much worried about his identity being revealed, but by having his identity come out, it's affecting the lives of his friends.
Yeah.
Like, they can't get into college, that sort of thing, because they're with, someone who's undesirable now because he's, acting outside the law and stuff like that. There's some great little Easter eggs. We get to see the return of Charlie Cox as Daredevil. Yeah. Well, technically as Matt Murdock. He doesn't put on the suit, which is the only thing I wanted. Where I was like, make this film perfect, Daredevil shows up in the final act. It wouldn't make sense, so I understand why they didn't do it, but for me as a huge Daredevil fan, it would have been cool. But you have that. You have the bridge scene, which is, I remember for a while, everyone was like, based on the trailers, this entire movie is on a bridge, but you have that great scene where Doc Ock returns and he's interrogating Peter Parker. All the villains coming back were great. Like Jamie Foxx, I never thought was terrible as Electro, but he really stepped up his game in this film.
Yeah, he really did.
Obviously, like Lizard and Sandman have kind of less to do. They're there, but they're not as impactful.
Yeah.
As compared to Green Goblin, Willem Dafoe, steals this movie for me.
Yeah.
He's so good as the villain. Like, he's so good. He plays that kind of line between, is he sane or is he insane or is the goblin real or what's going on? Like, really well done. Great decision by the studio to be like, hey, as soon as he's in this universe, we're destroying that stupid mask. Yeah. Because Willem Dafoe without a mask is way scarier than Willem Dafoe with a mask.
That's right.
You have that great redemption moment for Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man where he saves MJ, which destroys me.
That really did destroy me. I was just like, oh my god, this can't happen again, And then when he saved it, and he's crying because he saved it, and I'm just like...
Well, there's also a really great... and that alone would have been perfect. Yeah. But then there's the next thing that happens is an ad-lib by both of them, where Andrew Garfield goes, are you okay? That wasn't in the script. He just asked if she's okay. And MJ goes, yeah, are you? Because he... Yeah. So they both ad-libbed that, and it's like, what a great little detail. Like, you didn't need to do that, but it just elevated it so much more. And then, obviously, it ends... it's not a sad ending, but it's also okay, Peter Parker is alone. No one knows who he is anymore. None of the Avengers know who he is. Doctor Strange doesn't know who he is. His friends don't know who he is. There's a scene which is heartbreaking where he goes to Aunt May's grave, and Happy Hogan is standing right next to him, has no idea who he is. Yeah. He's like, how did you know her? And he's like, through Spider-Man. He's like, yeah, me too. Has no idea that the woman that he's mourning, this woman that he loves, was the aunt of the man standing next to him. Yeah. But it's also a really great origin story. Because a lot of people were like, oh, we're not doing the Spider-Bite, we're not doing Uncle Ben. We didn't do Uncle Ben. Instead, we did Aunt May, which was a great twist, and took us 3 movies to tell the story of, this is how he became Spider-Man, really. Yeah. This is how he becomes who he needs to be. This is how he learns the importance of taking responsibility for your actions. Yeah. He had a wonderful mentor in the first movie with Iron Man. And the second one is about kind of coping with the loss of a mentor, and this one is now I'm truly alone. Now I have to be the hero that I'm destined to be. Yeah. And it was such a fitting, perfect ending to the trilogy. And he's come out and says I'll do them until they tell me no more. Yeah, yeah. Which is great. They're already working on Spider-Man 4. That's right. Yeah. I loved it. It was so close to a perfect film. There's very few things that I would change about it. There are very few things that I'd add to it, but. again, it was one of those films, just like with Justice League, I was like, man, I hope I'm not disappointed by this. Because Far From Home wasn't a disappointment, but it wasn't as... I think it got hyped up a bit too much. Like, I like Far From Home, and Mysterio's a cool villain, and that twist at the end where, like, his identity is revealed is really cool. But there's a lot of time where they're sitting on a bus.
Yeah.
There's a lot of parts in that film where Spider-Man doesn't get to be Spider-Man. Like, he's not swinging around.
He's being the student on the exchange trip.
And we did a lot of that in Homecoming. So, like, and the villain in Homecoming, I think, was slightly better. I like Vulture better than Mysterio. So even though Far From Home wasn't a disappointment, it wasn't quite what I was hoping to be. Whereas No Way Home, even though I pretty much knew everything was going to happen and based on everything got leaked, it still exceeded my expectations. Do you have anything else you want to add about Spider-Man?
Let's see. No, but I think it's a really interesting setup because we know that Ned ends up becoming a villain.
In the comics, Ned Leeds is the Hobgoblin,
Yeah, and so it'd be interesting to see that now he's not friends with Spider-Man anymore. What his opinion of... Because Spider-Man obviously still exists. So what's his opinion of Spider-Man going to be? And how does that then create him as a character to possibly be a villain? Well,
there's also that great line where when all the Spider-Man are talking and Ned's trying to keep up.
Yeah.
And, like, they're talking about the MJs in their world and, like, you know, Andrew Garfield didn't have an MJ.
Yeah.
He had... but, you know, and then, like, the... where... I remembered it and I got excited and I lost my words. Where Toby goes, what happened to your best friend? He's like, oh, he tried to kill me.
Yeah.
And then Andrew Garfield's like, yeah, my best friend was my best friend and he tried to kill me as well.
Yeah.
He died in my arms as well.
Yeah.
And it's like, and Ned's starting to see the pattern. He's like, he goes to Tom Holland, he's like, no matter what, I won't try to kill you. He won't become a villain. But that feels like...
That feels like a bit of a setup.
Yeah, like he probably will. It's such a good film. I can't wait to see it again. I ordered it, like, on Blu-ray the day I came home from the cinema. I'm like, the pre-order's up, I'll order it now.
Nice. Alright, so do you have any honourable mentions?
I do have a few honourable mentions. We already talked about Shang-Chi, so I'll take that off. Do you want to go one at a time, or do you just want to go through your own list?
I'll just go through my list.
Cool.
And I'll just talk a quick few sentences on each of them. So, my honourable mentions are Black Widow.
Yep.
Yeah, I really liked it.
Yeah.
Like, this is the thing. Like, I mean, all of these movies I liked... But I'm not like, other than maybe Shang-Chi and Spider-Man, like, none of them are really like, oh my god, my favourite. So, yeah, I liked Black Widow. I don't know if I liked it enough to add it to the list, but I didn't dislike it.
The best part of Black Widow for me was Yelena.
Yeah, she was
Who
great.
then shows up in Hawkeye and is great, Yeah.
Suicide Squad we already talked about. This is controversial,
Mm-hmm.
but I really liked the Cinderella remake. Like, so many people...
Oh, with Camilla Cabello?
Yeah. So many people didn't like that movie. I thought it was great.
It's really cheesy.
Yeah.
Like, but it is fun. Like, there's some things in it where I was like, oh, there are a couple of random things like, oh, this is a bit weird, but I enjoyed it. Like, it was totally fine. Like, sit in your couch and watch a silly movie.
Like, would I rewatch it? Probably not for a while.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But, like... I thought it was fun. Everybody was like, this is trash. I'm like, yeah, but it's kind of enjoyable trash.
I mean, and it wasn't Disney, it was Amazon who made it.
No, that's right.
And compared to some of the live-action Disney remakes, I would probably...
Yeah. I liked it better than the Disney version of Cinderella.
Did you
Way
like it?
better than the Disney version.
Did you like it better than the live-action Aladdin? Or live-action Lion King?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Because it had, like, all of our favourite British comedians. So, you know, it had James A. Caster, Ramesh Ranganathan, it had Rob Beckett. Who else did it have? It had a whole bunch.
James Corden was in it.
James Corden.
Who a lot of the internet hates,
people,
apparently.
Yeah, the internet hates. But they hate because of, like, Cats and stuff like that, which I haven't seen Cats. I like James Corden because of things like Gavin and Stacey and stuff. My last honourable mention was Matrix Resurrections, because I felt like I should add it to the list because it's a Matrix movie, but I don't know how I feel. I have to watch it again because I'm so not confused, but so like needed to spend that viewing wrapping my head around the storyline that I couldn't actually really enjoy it. So I have to watch it again simply to go, okay, now I have a vague understanding of the story. Now I can just watch this for the enjoyment of watching it.
Yeah, Matrix didn't make any of my lists for the year. Like, it was... I didn't dislike it, but there were other things that were just stronger for me.
Yeah.
But there were some really great moments. I was surprised how happy I was to see Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss share the screen again.
Yeah.
Because I never really felt like they had that much chemistry in those movies.
No, they really don't. You kind of watch them and you're like, why are these two together?
Yeah. Like, and it's got nothing to do with, like, them being bad performers. Like, they're both great, and I just never really kind of bought the love story.
The characters are too stoic, and so you don't see them bonding over anything other than being stuck on the ship together.
And they're also, like, driven by the mission.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the first thing.
So there's no, like, you don't see love between them. Love in terms of, like, romance or fun times or humour or anything like that.
Yeah.
You see them both being like, I would die for you. Sort of, that sort of thing. It's like, okay, well, take a break for a second.
But I did like seeing them on screen together in this movie.
Yeah, I liked watching them together a lot more than any of the other Matrix movies.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's definitely things to like about it. Definitely.
Yeah, what?
I've got a few.
Yours?
So one of them was this documentary that came out last year called Clerk. It's just a documentary about Kevin Smith and his career, so of course I was presupposed to like this movie. The only complaint I had with the film was I knew everything in there. Like, because I'm such a die-hard fan, I've heard all the stories before. There wasn't too much new for it, but it was still good. There's a movie that came out in 2020 for the US, but it was released in 2021 for Australia, so that's why it's on my list. It's called I Care a Lot. It's another Amazon film.
Yeah, I wanted to watch this one.
Rosamund Pike plays a woman in like she kind of like gets elderly people into aged care. That's her job. But it turns out she's actually a con artist, and she's using it to like kind of rip them off, basically.
Yeah.
And then she gets caught up into a whole bunch of like weird, violent, like mob-like activity, and it's a mystery, and it's a drama, it's a comedy. It's really good. It's really, really good. So that's why it's on my list. And then the last three are all horror films, actually. The first was the Wrong Turn remake. Now, for those who aren't familiar, Wrong Turn, the original came out in like 2002 with Eliza Dushku, and it's basically about mountain men, hillbilly cannibals. That's kind of what it is.
Yeah.
For 6 movies. And the series isn't that good. I found that every film that ended in an even number tended to be better. So I like 2, 4, and 6. I don't really like 1, 3, or 5.
Yeah.
But they were more just kind of like cheesy, kind of like B movies. This film is not that. This film is like a serious take on it. Like, it's less about... They're not hillbillies anymore. So what happens is, it's the same kind of premise. 5 friends are driving. They get lost in the woods, and they get kind of have to worry about fear for their lives. But instead of it being hillbilly cannibals, it's this old, like, ancient tribe that lives in the forest. And they live very... I'm trying to think of the word. They live off the land.
Yeah.
They don't rely on technology. Everything is like candles, and
Yeah.
They live and they hunt for their food. They use tools. They believe in kind of the old laws where, like, if you steal, you'll get hurt or killed and that sort of thing. So it's a really interesting take on it, and because of that, I just found it to be way more enjoyable. Where I was like, oh, this feels realistic. This feels like something that could happen. It's kind of like you hear about, like, there are tribes in the Amazon who still untouched by man. That sort of thing.
Yeah, that's right.
And it was the same. It kind of had that sense of danger to it. And it also felt a little bit like a cult as well, which of course
which you love.
I love. So it was a fascinating take on it, and I think it's better than anything they made in that original series. Like, a lot of people hated it because they were like, "It's not cannibalistic hillbilly mountain man."
Yeah.
Good. Like, this is so much more interesting. It's so much more fascinating. It's so much more scary because it's not people like who are deformed, killing to eat or like for fun. It's like, no, we have our rules. This is the way we were raised. This is what we do. This is how we live, and you've broken our rules. We don't understand. We don't live by your laws. Therefore, we punish you the way we see fit, and that's to gouge your eyes out.
Yeah.
Like, that's what the movie is, and it's really, really effective. So I loved Wrong Turn. The next one on my list is Malignant, which was directed by James Wan, who of course is on Aquaman, and he did the Saw films, or the early ones anyway. Done a lot of horror films. And Malignant is a really weird movie. And that's why I liked it. It's basically about a woman who keeps having, like, visions of people being murdered. So she keeps having dreams. Or, like, she'll sit in a room and suddenly, like, the room will change and it's almost as if she's in the point of view of someone else as they're getting murdered by this mysterious figure. And then, spoiler alert, it turns out when she was born, like, her twin brother, like, the embryo or, like, the fetus never separated. So the back of her head is, like, she's like Voldemort. There's a face there and, like, it's got, like, this psychic power and stuff. And, like, there's a scene where, like, it takes over her and she's, like, the demon or, like, the monster baby in her head is fighting the police.
So what? She's just never seen the back of her head. Well, so she brushes her hair and she doesn't feel...
No, so, like, it was grafted over and there's a graphic scene where, like, she's bashing the back of her head until the skin of the face comes out.
Gross.
Yeah. It's so bonkers, though. Like, the whole time, up until that reveal, you're like, this is just, like, a supernatural kind of ghost story, I think. And then when you find out that her brother is living in her head and the face comes out and she's fighting everything backwards because it becomes this weird, like, horror comedy.
Yeah.
And, like, she doesn't have superpowers, but he does, so she's jumping backwards like a super... It's so weird.
But how is he... Why is she getting visions of murder? If he's not a murderer...
He is the murderer.
So he's been killing people while she's unconscious?
So there's one brain, but two consciousness. So when he dominates the brain, she's
the one who kills.
But he's the one in control.
Yeah.
So she's having visions of her.
Oh, of her murdering people.
But she doesn't realize it's him because he's living in the back of her head.
Yeah.
It is a weird movie.
Yeah, it sounds weird.
But I was like, I've never seen anything like this.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what I want. If you can't make a good movie, like, make it interesting or weird. Yeah. And this film kind of walks all three of them.
I love how, like, because movies go through a process of, like, having to pitch ideas to studios and please give me money to make this, and then it goes through, like, forums and, like, test screenings, and
I think the thing
like, people are just like, yep.
I think the thing is, it's James Wan, who has never made a film that didn't make money.
Yeah.
He makes very low budget films, except for Aquaman, which is fine because that's a Warner Brothers, like, we'll spend $1 billion on Aquaman. It's fine. But, like, he makes low budget horror films. He's got a really good reputation. He's got a huge fan base. So even if he makes a weird film like this for $2 million or $4 million, based on his fan base alone, it's probably going to make a profit. Because, he spends so little money making the film. And, like, I enjoyed it. It was one of my favourite movies of the year. Like, it made it there. It's just so bizarre. And the last movie on my list isn't so much controversial, but I think, like, it's definitely going to surprise a few people. And that's Halloween Kills.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not the biggest Halloween fan. I've always been a Jason fan. You mentioned Jason earlier. Like, he's my Hollywood monster. Like, of the 80s wave of, horror monsters, Jason was my guy. That being said, I've seen them all. I've seen all the Freddys, and I've seen all the Michael Myers ones as well. I really liked the last movie that came out in 2018, where they kind of did a sequel to the original one. 40 years later, they ignored every other movie. They're like, there are two Halloween movies, the one from 1978 and our one in 2018. That's kind of the way they've been doing them. So this new one is a sequel to the one from 2018, and it's a continuation. So it's like, it picks up pretty much exactly where the last film left off. And it's, the whole idea is, like, Michael's out there somewhere. They think he's dead, but he's not. And this, like, it's all one night as well. They're just trying to get through the night and stop it. And I think the reason people didn't like it is it's not a horror film. Like, it's a Michael Myers film, and there are some of the most brutal, violent killings I've seen in any Halloween film. But this is not a horror movie. What it is, it's a drama about trauma. That's what it is. It's, it's a study of the trauma of Laurie Strode, who's been living with the fear of Michael for 40 years. It's the trauma of an entire town who have lost, countless lives again and again and again because Michael's been haunting them. And that's really interesting to me. It's like, we're not going to make a horror film. Like, we'll present it as a horror film, and it's going to be violent and gory, so you're still going to get your horror elements there. But instead, what we're going to do is something a little bit more interesting. We're going to do something a little bit different, and we're going to analyse the trauma of an entire town. And there's a really wonderful moment, and I almost cried, which isn't saying much for me, because I cry all the time when it comes to movies. But there's a moment when they're in the police station and all the town's there and they're like rabble, because they're like, what are we supposed to do? This guy's out there killing the children and like the people of our town. And at one point, and I think it's Anthony Michael Hall, the guy in Community who's like, my fist up your balls.
Oh, yeah.
My whole life's
yeah,
a gym.
yeah.
So he's in the movie. Because he was in one of the original ones, I think. And he starts this chant. And they stop arguing and they all just start chanting together, evil dies tonight. Which is a really powerful statement. Like, you don't think about it, and especially in a horror film, you're like, oh, what does that mean? It's like, no. Michael Myers is no longer a man. He's the personification of evil. There is no kind of redemption for him. He's going around killing people. He has haunted our town for years, even though he only resurfaced a couple of years ago, or like last night, because it's a direct sequel. He's cast a shadow of our town. Our town has lived in fear. Our town has been known as the town where all the murders happened. And we've had to live with that for 40 years, this shared trauma. So tonight we take our town back. And there's this scene towards the end where, like, literally all the townspeople are beating Michael to death with baseball bats and, like, shovels and stuff. But as we know, he's no longer a man. He's transcended beyond a man. He is the personification of evil. And I think he kills them all. Like, he kind of comes back. And I don't know why. I just loved it. I was like, this is way more subversive and interesting and kind of thoughtful than a Halloween movie. Like, Halloween, like 11 or 12, technically. Like, way more than it deserves to be. Just like with Mortal Kombat, it's doing so much more than it needs to. And for that reason alone, I was like, this is great. So it flies, it wasn't in my top 5, but definitely my top 10 for the year. I think the people who didn't like it maybe didn't understand it, or maybe they're just like, I just want to see blood and guts, which is fine. But I was so glad they did more with it.
Yeah.
So Halloween Kills makes my honourable mentions.
Nice.
Well, that's our lists. So the show's almost over, Tina. You have survived the first episode.
I have.
But before we go, we like
As you have.
As I have, yeah. But before we go...
As has Kevin.
There's one thing we do on every show. We're starting with this one, but we're going to do on every show. We're going to do a rapid-fire round of questions.
Right.
So you don't need to think too much about these. First answer that comes to your head. And it's just something I like to know about from all my guests. And you're getting ready.
I'm getting ready.
Okay, what was the last thing you watched?
Superstore. Movie? Do you want movie?
You can give me a movie as well.
I don't know.
You don't have to take it like... You don't have to like...
It's rapid fire. Last movie I watched. Matrix. Was it The Matrix? Matrix Resurrections, I think, was the last movie I watched.
You haven't watched a movie this year at all?
I don't know. I can't remember 5 minutes ago.
No, that's okay. What movie has been sitting on your watch list forever? We've all got one. We keep putting it off. What is it?
I don't like rapid fire. I can't.
You don't have to. Like, you can slow down. Like when
What movie has been on my watch list forever? I don't really know. I feel like I have to check my watch list. It's all TV shows.
Well, it does have to be. Like, I say watch list because everyone's streaming these days, but maybe it's a DVD. Maybe it's just one of those movies you're like, I've always wanted to watch this. I keep putting it off.
What have I always wanted to watch and I keep putting it off? Like there's a whole bunch of documentaries. They count as movies.
Yeah, sure.
Do they? So like there's a whole bunch of like World War II. This is so boring. I gotta think of something cool. What have I been wanting to watch that I've been putting off? Oh, can you come back to me with that one?
So we can skip it. It's all good.
What entertaining! What entertainment this is!
Are you a movie crier?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm a movie crier. I'm a big movie crier. I cried in Paddington.
Yeah, I know.
Like...
I know. Is there an actor or actress that you'll follow to any movie?
Oh, Daniel Radcliffe.
Yep.
That's for sure. To any movie, absolutely Daniel Radcliffe.
What's the worst movie you've ever seen?
Ooh, the worst movie I've ever seen. What's the worst movie I've ever seen?
I can think of 2 that you've turned off.
What are they?
You turned, after the first 10 minutes, you turned off Repo the Genetic Opera.
Oh, yeah, that's awful.
And an hour and 20 minutes into you turned off Rock of Ages. You were like,
oh yeah, that's bad. Rock of Ages is bad. I'm gonna go with Rock of Ages because at least Repo is like, it's got some sort of niche market, whereas Rock of Ages is just dog shit, isn't it?
And what's the one movie they should never remake?
Back to the Future.
That was my answer as well.
Never remake it. Leave it as it is. Oh, To the Bone. To the Bone is a movie that's on my list that I've wanted to watch for a really long time.
What is it?
It is, it's a Keanu Reeves and Lily Collins movie, and she has anorexia.
Oh, okay.
And it's her dealing with having anorexia and overcoming anorexia and stuff like that. And so I've always wanted to, it's on my list for ages, and each time I'm like, oh, maybe I'll watch that. Oh, maybe I'll watch that. And then I never do.
Yeah.
So that's another, there you go, another Keanu Reeves movie. That's on my list.
Good thing you didn't say you'd follow him anywhere, because you haven't seen that one yet, so.
No, that's right. But Daniel, and no, I wouldn't follow Keanu Reeves anywhere because I watched The Gift.
Yeah.
As much as I could of The Gift, and once I saw Katie Holmes wet, hanging from a tree, I was like, no, I don't care that Keanu Reeves is in this movie. I am not watching this movie.
I just bought that recently on Blu-ray as well.
That being said, I haven't seen every single Daniel Radcliffe movie.
No,
I haven't seen The Woman in Black, and I haven't seen Kill Your Darlings.
I've seen both those.
But I've seen pretty. If a movie came out and it was like, hey, Daniel Radcliffe's playing Hitler, I'd be like, yep, cool. Or like Daniel Radcliffe's playing misogynist pig, be like, yep, no problem. I'll watch that.
Excellent. Well, that's the show. That's how it works. That's how we do it. Before we wrap up, is there anything you want to plug, promote? I know you've got a blog.
Yes, so I have a blog that is called The Feminist Mum, and I post up there as often as I possibly can with a bub. But you can follow me on Instagram at The Feminist Mum blog, I think is what it is.
Good promoting.
Yeah, really good promoting. And on my Facebook page as well, The Feminist Mum blog. And I want it to be a space where I honestly and frankly talk about what it's like raising a kid, because I find that a lot of the stuff online, especially on Pinterest, is A, very American based, and B, very much like, my child eats no refined sugar and watches 0 hours of television, and we have all these Montessori toys, and I'm like, well, I'm just trying to not cry during the day.
Yeah, like, our kid eats yogurt while watching Bluey.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm surprised Bluey didn't make it.
Well, I sit
Bluey
on
was
my
the last
phone.
thing you watched.
Bluey is the last thing I watched. Well, I sit on my phone scrolling Instagram, not looking at ways to improve my parenting.
Excellent. Well, that was the very first episode. We're going to be doing this weekly. New guest every week. You can follow the show on Instagram. I was a teenage film snob with an underscore between each word, because that's all Instagram would allow. So a very big thank you to Tina for being the first guest. I'm James Chalmers, and as we always say, you know this, Tina, I always say this, I was a teenage film snob, but I'm trying to get better. We'll see you next week.